excited about?
Well, got a lot of good events coming up. Um, just a lot of good things, new year, new times.
Yeah, a lot of great things happening. Family reunions coming up, all kinds
Yeah.
of training going on in the market centers.
Yeah, I just got signed up for the family reunion. I'm looking forward to the script offs.
Yeah,
Those are
that's
always
great.
really good,
Yeah,
you know.
that's cool. That's cool. That's good stuff. Get some good information and some good inspiration. Information and inspiration from family reunion. That's for sure. What
Yeah,
else? Tell me something good.
it's a hot market.
Yeah. One thing you don't get now from family union is perspiration because you don't have to run around from class to class and walk about 30 miles this year anyway. Hopefully next year we'll be back to somewhat normality. That would be great.
Yeah.
So what'd you say, Bryant? What else is something good?
Oh no,
Well,
I was looking at the numbers. The market is quite hot. I mean, we're like at 1 month.
Yeah, December was one of the strongest months ever. I mean, one of the strongest Decembers ever in history.
Yeah.
It's pretty mind-boggling in the middle of all this COVID, right? I mean, real estate is what brought the economy through this challenge that we've been facing. It's amazing how blessed we've been that we've been able to, first of all, be essential. I mean, I know in a couple of states, real estate is not essential, was not essential for a long time. Pennsylvania being one of them. So thank God we've been able to work, and the people that have been working receive a lot of great rewards, no doubt about it, because the market's very hot, very strong. Our 3 market centers did 1.7 billion in production, the most ever. It's pretty powerful. Shared, and we profit shared almost $800,000 between the 3 market centers.
wow.
That's a lot of profit share, right?
Yeah.
South Florida region did over 11 billion in production. And I think they profit shared, I don't know the exact number, but I think it was over 6 million. So it's pretty big numbers, pretty amazing numbers. So we're all blessed and grateful, right? What else? Tell me something good.
We're very blessed. I mean, you're right. The market is going at a blistering pace. We will close more transactions this month than we did in the first quarter of last year, and last year's first quarter was really good.
There you go.
So it's just been a strong cycle. Yeah.
Well, we were all heading for the strongest first quarter we've ever had before COVID hit in March, and then the second quarter was a little bit of a blip, but we came back gangbuster and wound up even or a little ahead, probably ahead of last year, and our agents made more money. I think they made 10 or 11% more money across the region. So that's great. That's great. That's awesome. So the business is out there, right? It's how much of it do you want? We
Yeah.
gotta get out of
Purchase
our
business.
we gotta get out of our own heads and keep our mindset going in the right direction, and get so busy we can't be afraid of any crap that's going on, right? Get rid of the fear and do it anyway, right? Be safe, but do it anyway, right? So what else? Tell me something good.
Gary,
Yes. Hey, Jan.
Jan here.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys. I woke up early this morning and got on my email at 6 a.m.
Uh-huh.
I have a $350,000 buyer.
Wonderful.
Personal referral.
Eric, that's great. We love those referrals, right?
That's my something good.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. Good luck. That's
Thank
great.
you.
What else? Tell me something good. Anybody having any trouble finding homes for your buyers?
Especially when they're a little picky.
What'd you say? I couldn't catch you.
Especially when they're kind of picky.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The market is such that it's about just getting a house.
Yeah, right. Everything
Not
flies
getting the
off the
perfect
shelf.
house. Right, yeah.
Can I add something, Gary?
Yes.
This is Cassie from Tampa Market.
I got
I would love to work on referrals, and I just got an unbelievable referral. I'm still in a little shock. So if anybody on this call has anything in Hyde Park, the budget is 1.6 million, and they want a 3+, 2+, would like a pool, but they know that might be impossible. So if we can get them about 1.3, that'd be great. They'll have plenty of money to build a pool. So anybody in Hyde Park area, please, if you have a seller, let me know. Cassie Roberts, Tampa Properties.
Great. That's awesome. Anybody got a coming soon or something that's not on the market yet? So how you find an inventory? Let me ask you a question. How can we sell so many houses with so few houses on the market?
Well, new construction is one.
What's that?
New construction.
Yeah, well, those aren't what's in the MLS.
Well,
Yeah.
some are. Some
Well,
are.
but not all new construction housing
No.
is in the data in the MLS. So
Correct.
I'm just from the data in the MLS. I mean, we're selling as many listings as we have active. It's, you know, the month supply of inventory is around 1. You know, in our market, which is kind of, I mean, everything's being absorbed every month. It's kind of interesting.
We need to focus on sellers. That's where I fall behind for sure. I have all
Well,
buyers.
Well, that's the status of the market right now. It's definitely a seller's market, so that means there's more buyers than sellers, right? So that's where we're at right now. So listings are in short supply, so they bring that much more value. They bring that much more value. So your relationships, your referrals, are opportunities to attract sellers. Also, your buyers are a magnet for sellers. Cassie, I'd be advertising what your buyer is looking for on social media and see if a seller raises their hand.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. Or basically kind of door knock, I was thinking too, but from a
Sure.
distance or catch them outside or.
All of the above. So in a market like we are right now, your buyer's needs may serve to attract sellers. So, and in working for a buyer that you're representing, that you're trying to help find a home, that can attract listing opportunities for you too. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
those are great ways of besides just prospecting like crazy. And I know calling expireds and FSBOs, they're still out there. Believe it or not, there's some people that haven't been successful, and they need our help. And you got to believe they need our help. If you believe they don't need our help, then that talks you out of even making the phone call or knocking on the door. Does that make sense? Go ahead, Jan.
My plan for my jungle terrace buyer, that's where they want to buy.
Mhm.
I want to search the MLS and see who's had listings there in the last 3 to 6 months and see if they have a new listing coming up.
That's great. What are some other things that you can do when you're looking for a buyer that in a specific area?
I actually reached out to all the KW there in South Tampa because a few of them had a home listing that I went and looked at for them
Beautiful.
with my
Great.
buyers. So
Great
I'm having
idea.
them to please call me. Yeah, they have something else coming up because they're,
Yeah.
you know, they have a lot of sellers in that area or have, so.
Great idea. Anybody else?
You look at the cancels and withdrawals and see if you can get anything out of that.
Yes, exactly. Do your search criteria, not just for actives and pendings, and search pendings too, because a lot of these pendings, you know, they might have a problem of some kind, and even going in as a backup if you lose, going in as a backup for a week with an out might not be a bad idea in this market that we're in right now. You can be a first position backup. That gives the seller of the property leverage in case the buyer that's under contract, you know, gets toxic. If you understand what I'm saying. Without a backup offer in position already, the seller doesn't have as much leverage. So that's, as a listing agent, that's a powerful tool too. What else? Anybody else? Tell me something good. What else is going on that you're excited about this first month of the year. Actually, we're halfway through already. It's the 15th.
So not real estate related, but family related. Many of you guys know Lucretia Hawthorne, who is an agent here in Tampa Properties. She had a brain aneurysm several months ago, and she continues to get better day by day. Her husband's staying in touch with us, and the goal is she'll be back to as close to 100% as possible sometime in 2021. Those of you that know her and continue to pray for her, keep it up because it's working. So
thank God. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the
God is
update.
good.
Yes, prayer is powerful. It's very powerful. So
I figured she'd get better after Alabama won.
yeah.
If that's not a reason to get better and cheer, I don't know what is for her, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's great. Good stuff. Okay, anybody else? Tell me something good or share an aha or ask a question. We got lots of great material.
I got an aha.
Okay, share it, Mike.
Well, I got an offer one time with a PO box as the address and the wrong data in the tax ID and that kind of stuff, right? And I didn't even look at that. I went right past the address and all that, went right to the money and right to the bottom to see, what the conditions were and all that kind of stuff. Didn't realize it until later that, the address was wrong. This was wrong. That was wrong. There were several things wrong in the paperwork. And I just didn't expect that. It's like, well, from now on, I will look at every line.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That's where we kind of go to first to make our judgments about what kind of offer we have or whether we're going to get excited or not, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, but still, you got to look at. It's okay to do that, but make sure you look at everything else, right? Yeah.
So you don't look foolish. Yes.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And stay in curiosity about those offers. You never know. Seeing strange things happen. If you impose judgment on an offer right away, it impacts the way you present it. What else? Any ahas? Any?
I have a question, Gary.
Sure, Norman.
Norma, hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Great.
I'm just curious about the buyers that are coming into our area. Are they coming? Obviously, we've heard that there are a lot of them coming from out of state. But does that mean we're just going to have more residents, or the sellers who are here leaving and moving to Florida, or we're just gaining more residents? I'm just curious about that mix.
Yeah. Anybody have thoughts on that? My thought would be that we're going to be growing.
Okay.
And how would you feel if you were in one of those lockdown states and you found out all the fun was in Florida?
Right. We're one of a few states. Yes, that's true. I'm just curious what percent of those, if anybody, if there's any stats like that.
I haven't seen stats like that. And we do have a lot of influx of people. I don't know how much it's impacting our market. I haven't researched that, to be very honest with you.
The only stat I see, Norma, is from the U.S. Census Bureau. And before COVID, we were growing as a state at 1,000 people a day. We were growing about 365,000 people every year, which means people are moving here and buying here, but the people who already live here aren't going anywhere.
So
I think the number is probably smaller, but I don't think it's gone to zero.
So that makes me wonder, the sellers that are selling, where they're buying, it's kind of, you got two sets of buyers, of people coming into Florida, and then you've got the people who are selling that have to buy something else. So it's kind of a interesting statistic, I think, to kind of learn about.
Well, the other thing is with technology and with the popularity of Zoom, people don't have to work don't have to live where they work.
Correct.
So more and more people are going to live where they want instead of where they think they have to.
Right.
And they're getting out of big cities, getting out of places that they don't necessarily want to work in. So,
high tax states.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic that it's a great question. It's something to watch. and something to market to. I mean, if we know where they're coming from, that's where we want to market to, right?
Well, I know near my home here, there's going to be about 18 houses, new construction going up in Palm Harbor, which is a hot zip code, you know, the
Right.
Palm Harbor. So, but those won't be ready for another year, couple of years. Gulf, I think it's Gulflands is going to be building 18 homes there off of 19th Street in Palm Harbor. So, but that's new construction, probably over $500,000, like at least starting at 500 plus. Yeah. So there'll be, but that's again another year, 2 years before that's probably fully, you know, comes to fruition.
Right, right. Well, as long as there's demand and low interest rates, sellers will continue to be in a good position for sure, and properties will appreciate. Well, one of the things we're going to learn later, and we've learned it before, we've realized it. I mean, actually, with even though values have gone up significantly, I think it ranges 10 to 15% median pricing has gone up in Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough over last year. With interest rates a point lower, even though the total cost is more in price of home, the cost as far as monthly payments is not any more expensive than it was with the 10%, 15% lower lower value of the home. So that's why it's one of the best times in history that I can ever remember for both buyers and sellers to be active. It's a great time in history for investors too, with interest rates so low, properties cash flow. And with people coming into the area, I mean, vacancy ratios are still in need for housing, and investors are doing really well. So if you're an investor and you want, it's a great time to accumulate real estate, rental real estate. What else? Any other things that you learned, or any good news that you want to share? Okay, let's jump in, Tamara. We'll get right to the materials. You want to hear some 5 tips to be an expert at managing your time?
Yes.
I hope you're interested, because we're going to talk about it anyway. Okay. All right, here we go. Do you have too much to do and too little time? How many times have you heard that, right? Of course, the most common form of stress that professional people experience is the feeling of being overwhelmed with too much to do and too little time to do it in. It's called time poverty, and it's the biggest single problem facing most people today. Things like budget limitations, staff cutbacks, and competitive pressures force individuals to take on more and more work. The key to becoming more efficient in relieving that stress is the ability to set priorities and the ability to focus on one task at a time. Here are 5 ways to get organized and get started. First, number 1, be open to new ideas. The most foolish person of all is either the person who feels he has no time to learn. That's kind of interesting when we're talking about time management. I don't have time for that. It's like, I don't have time to go to family reunion. I don't have time to go to mega camp. I don't have time to go to Ignite and training in the market center. Those are the people that need it the most, right? Or even worse, the person, while being overwhelmed with work, feels like she already knows all that's needed to know on the subject. Don't stunt your own growth by going into judgment about how much you know. 2, learn from the experts. Success leaves tracks. Gary Keller says success leaves clues. A wise man who had studied success for more than 50 years once concluded that the greatest success principle of all was learn from the experts. If you concluded, if you want to be a big success in any area, find out what other successful people in that area are doing. Do the same things until you get the same results. That's interesting. You've heard me say, you copy one thing, it's plagiarism, but if you copy lots of stuff, it's research. So do research, find out what top people are doing and successful people are doing, whether it's time management or anything, and copy them. That's what, Nikki and I did when we started. The top agents in our marketplace way back then in 1986, 1987. Yeah, that's a long time ago. A lot of you weren't even born back then, right? Top producers were doing 6 to 10 million in our market. So we watched what they were doing and copied what they did and got to that level of production relatively quickly, within a couple of years. And then we got outside of our marketplace and we watched what other people were doing and copied what they were doing. And that brought us up to higher and higher levels of opportunity and production. So that's really profound. Learn from the experts, watch what top people are doing, watch what successful people are doing, and do the same things. Study the interviews, the speeches, the biographies, and the autobiographies of successful men and women. You'll find that they all had one quality in common. They were all described as being extremely well organized. There's probably no other skill that you can learn that will give you a bigger bang for the buck than to become extremely knowledgeable and experienced in using time management practices. So read the books, the articles, listen to the audio, take the courses, then practice every day until you master those skills. You know, I always say, what's the difference between a $2 million producer and a $20 million producer? It's not 18 million. It's how they think and how they manage their time. 3, develop a plan. Successful men and women are both effective and efficient. They do the right things and they do them in the right way. They're constantly looking for ways to improve the quality and quantity of their output. Develop a plan and decide what's the most important thing to do, and then decide how to do it. 4, set priorities. This is important. Since there's never enough time to do everything that needs to be done, you must continually set priorities on your activities and do what the most important things are to be done. Perhaps the best question you can memorize and repeat is, what's the most valuable use of my time right now? It's interesting that he asked that question. I've been a Brian Tracy student for a long time, but I've been asking that question for 35 years. Every day. What's the best use of my time right now? That's a great focusing tool to catch you from stop procrastinating or stop delaying things or stop slowing down and from getting started, things like that. A great question. I'd underline it, memorize it, and ask yourself that question every day, multiple times. Then 5 is focus on one task. Start with your top tasks. The natural tendency is to major in minors and clear up small things first. After all, small things are easier and they're often more fun than the big important things that represent the most valuable use of your time. However, the self-discipline of organizing your work and focusing on your highest value tasks is the starting point of getting your time under control and lowering your stress levels. The truth is, you can study time management and take time management courses for your entire career, and you'll still never learn everything you need to know to get the most out of yourself while doing your job in the most efficient way. The key to efficiency is to continue learning and adapting to become your own expert. See, it's a journey of progress, not perfection. And you master adding value to your time and making yourself worth more per hour, and you'll grow incrementally. Anybody have any ahas, any thoughts on that?
Those last 3 all have to do with the one thing.
Yes, it's kind of interesting, huh?
I think that made up my mind. I think I have to go register for James Shaw.
I think so.
There you go. I mean, that's good. I mean, it's one thing at a time, right? And it's first things first. It's the most important things first. We don't just write a laundry list, a checklist. We know what the most important thing is. And Gary Keller teaches us that you focus on that and work on that most important thing first and treat everything else like it's a distraction. Alan Dom was one of my favorite people and one of the top agents in the country. He works one street in Philadelphia along the waterfront. And he basically dominates 80% market share, 8 high-rise condo buildings. He has his staff make his checklist on who he's going to call. He makes 100 calls every day, and his call list is based on the amount of income potential each conversation could generate. So the top call is the one that generates the most revenue. The last call is the one that generates the least potential revenue. Interesting perspective, right? So he knows he wants to take care and tackle the most important things first. Anybody else? Okay, next. Give thanks for your blessings. That's a good strategy. And express thanks for your blessings. Show gratitude. A good memory is one that can remember the day's blessings and forget the day's troubles. That's a great memory. The Irish blessing was a favorite of John Wooden's. It supports and is a good reminder of the seventh item in his father Joshua Wooden's 7-point creed. Quote, give thanks for your blessings and pray for guidance every day, unquote. In his book, The Wisdom of Wooden, Coach Wooden expanded on this idea. You'll be much happier if you spend as much time thinking about your blessings as you do about your troubles. In this regard, it's helpful to forget favors given and remember those received. In his book, Wooden, he summed it up this way. So often we fail to acknowledge what we have because we're so concerned about what we want. We fail to give real thanks for the many blessings for which we did nothing. Our life itself, the flowers, the trees, our family and friends. In his book, Coach Wooden's Pyramid of Success, Coach put the idea of blessings in perspective. I can recount so many blessings in my life and I'm thankful for them, but blessings don't constitute success. If none of the good things had ever occurred, I would not be any less successful. The real determining factor is this. Did I make the effort to do my best? That's the only criteria, and I'm the only one who knows, well, me and God. Am I a success? I have peace of mind. With this perspective, Coach was able to appreciate the blessings he received, not expect them or depend on them. The day's troubles were never anything for him to focus on. Neither had anything to do with success for itself, as he defined it. The focus was on his best effort, not external forces he couldn't control. Also, he was the most successful coach in college football history, college basketball history, right? If your focus is to be the best that you can be every day and do your best, then that comes with humility. There's no ego involved with past success that causes you to rest on your laurels and slack and become complacent. If your focus is to become the best that you can be and do your best all the time and come from a place of gratitude for all the blessings and abundance that you've been favored with, or not, whatever blessings you have, then the opportunities are unlimited, and people will love being around you. Any thoughts? Any ahas? Okay, next, Hammer. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? A question I usually hear is where do you see yourself in 5 years, but let's add another 5 to it. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Good question to ask yourself. Where are you going? 10 years from now, you surely will arrive. The question is where? We don't want to kid ourselves about where. We don't want to kid ourselves about the road we're walking. This is from Jim Rohn. At 25, shortly after meeting my mentor, Earl Schoaf, I had a day called Don't Kid Yourself Anymore, Don't Kid Myself Anymore day. I didn't want to be disillusioned anymore. I finally decided that the crossed finger theory was not going to get me what I wanted. It wasn't where the treasure lies. I was going to have to make sure which way I was headed. Then with Mr. Schoaf's help, I found a few reading disciplines, a few disciplines of mind, and a few disciplines of activity when exercised. Can make all the difference in the world as to where you will arrive. But it just took a few changes. Sometimes we get the idea that we're doing 10% and there's 90% more that we need to make the difference for our fortune. But probably the opposite is true. We're doing enough things to have bought and shared in the good life. And maybe all we need is that extra 5 or 10% of intellectual change, activity change, refinement of discipline, refinement of thought. And all we need is the ideas to make those simple changes. And the equity starts gathering in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. But now is the time to fix the next 10 years. You may have come to grips with reality and with truth. That's what was good for me when I met Mr. Schoaf. I was 25 years old. He was 44 years old. He brought me a wealth of experience and he started asking me the tough questions. Big question he asked, he said, was, are you reading the books that are going to take you where you want to go in the next 5 years? Excellent question. To get where you want to be in the next 5 years, you're either reading the right books or you're not. You're either engaged in the disciplines or you're not. But here's what we don't want to engage in: disillusion, hoping without acting, wishing without doing. The key is to look and say, where am I? What could I do to make the changes to ensure that I can take more certain daily steps toward the treasure I want? The mental treasure, the personal treasure, the spiritual treasure, the financial treasure. I don't want to make any more errors. Now is the time to adjust my daily program to take me where I want to go. The key is to start right now, making these changes to walk this new road. Just a few daily disciplines make a great deal of difference. And before you know it, you'll be walking a brand new road. Thoughts?
I have something to say.
Yes.
In our group there on our morning meetings, we talked about doing a 66-day challenge.
Yes.
Now we're on our second one. And I'm telling you, that has really changed my life, because I wasn't good at reading, and I have all these beautiful real estate books that I know I need to read. So that's what I've done now. And it's a habit for sure now. And I love it. I look forward to that time. So I just said 15 minutes a day. I mean, that's all it is. I love chunking it down to small, not over, with everything else going on in the world, we don't want to overdo it. So it's changed my life already.
Well, there you go. Congratulations for making that decision. And that's what accountability can do. And that's
Thank
a
you.
wonderful
Yes.
thing. Congratulations. See, a lot of times we don't get started on things because we either think we're too far away. Like what he says earlier, people think there's 90, we've done 10% done, there's 90% more to go. So that's a discouraging thought. So people don't even embrace the activity. But when you understand that, it's the little things. Gary Keller wrote a book that was the book that inspired the one thing. It's a class that he wrote as a legacy to his son on the best way to live life. It's called Quantum Leap. And quantum doesn't mean large, major changes. Quantum means little changes done over time. Create a compounding effect with consistency and lead to the better life. Okay, so 15 minutes a day is a great daily habit to have, to reading the books that you want to read. But this can be done in all areas of your life. Just pick one thing to start develop a habit in each area of your life that's important to you. Okay, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially, and watch what the impact is over time. The most important thing is to be consistent with it and not get discouraged because things might not be happening fast enough. Does that make sense? Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Any other ahs?
Gary, for me, it's not what I read, but also what I shouldn't read. Right now, these days, it's so easy to get sucked into a rabbit hole on social media, trying to convince somebody to see a different point of view. So if I took the time that I spend fretting about what's out there and put it into actual reading and what's going to get me where I want to go, that's going to be my biggest challenge and the one thing that I'm working on right now.
I appreciate your transparency, and it's true. I mean, the question is what's the best use of my time right now, and is this moving me in the direction of my dreams? Is this moving me in the direction of where I want to be 5, 10 years down the road? And if the answer is no, then it's not worth your time. See, if you stand for something, then you can make decisions on how you're going to live your life and spend your time more easily, But when you're not clear on where you want to be 5 or 10 years down the road, then it's okay to spend time doing anything that you want. Is that clear? When you
it's like the old law, there's the difference between being busy and productive.
Yes, and there's a huge difference. You can be busy doing things and not make any money, or not build the life that you want to build. I always say busy is just like good is the enemy of great, because people get settled in on good. They don't strive to be better, to get great. I say busy is the enemy of productivity. If you're not busy doing the right things, the most important things first, the ones that generate the most important things. All right. Anybody else? Thoughts? Ahas? Okay, you ready for some good news? Man, it seems so quiet hearing my own voice all the time.
Yes, we're ready.
Okay, thanks. 4 expert views on the housing market for 2021. All good news, guys. Lawrence Yun thinks interest rates will stay similar or be maybe modestly higher, maybe 3%. Another economist says sales expected to grow by 7%, prices to rise another 5.7%. Dietz says buyer traffic will remain strong given favorable demographics and shifting geography of housing demand to lower density markets and historically low interest rates. Expects continued gains in single family construction. And Fleming believes that the big short in housing supply will continue into 2021 and likely to keep house price appreciation flying high. So one of the things I love about the KCM blog, thanks Brian Forrester for turning me onto it, because you're the one that I think shared some of these articles first. Buy or sell a home in 2021. If you're planning to take advantage of the market this winter, let's connect and talk about the opportunities available in our market. These KCM blogs articles are great to post on social media. You can become the expert with your database just by sharing a couple of these a week, or 3 or 4 a month. It's pretty helpful information, and may get some people to raise your hands, but it's definitely good stuff to send your database. Okay, next. What does 2021 have in store for home values? What do you think? CoreLogic says nationwide home values increased by 8.2% over the last 12 months. So where will home values go in 2021? As long as the inventory remains low and demand is high, prices will continue to increase. That's not a genius, right? That's definitely fact for sure. So housing supply right now, 370,000 fewer homes for sale than they were a year ago. However, there's some speculation the inventory crush will ease somewhat as we move through the new year for 2 reasons. First, as this COVID crisis eases, hopefully more homeowners will be comfortable putting their houses on the market. And 2, some households impacted financially by the pandemic will be forced to sell. And then housing demand, interest rates. Rates stood at 3.72 at the beginning of 2020. Today, we're starting 2021 a full 1 percentage point lower than that. So those of you that have read the Shift book, how does that impact the buyer's buying power if the interest rates are 1 point lower? How much more can they qualify by a percentage?
An extra 10%.
Exactly, 10%. They qualify for 10% more of a mortgage just because the interest rates are lower. So here's what the experts are saying on these graphs. At the bottom, NAR says 6%. Is how prices are going to appreciate. The average is 3.9% from all the forecasts. Actually, if that's what it was, it'd be great because that's sustainable. We can't sustain 10 to 15% increases year over year continually. All right. So there's a very limited supply of homes, number of homes for sale for a great number of purchasers looking to buy them. As a result, the concept of supply and demand mandates that home values in our country will continue to appreciate. Okay, good news, guys. Is that good news? Okay, good news. Good stuff.
Very good news.
All on the same page. Good. Next page, Tamara. Is this the year to sell my house? Yes. Always. If somebody asks you that question, yes, let's look at it. For almost everybody, it's yes. Again, it's the greatest time to sell and buy, both at the same market in history, in my opinion. Okay. This article says 59% of people, when asked, feel it's a good time to sell. 57% of consumer respondents believe it's a good time to buy. So there we go. Why is now a good time to sell? Well, low interest rates, buyer demand, no competition. Nationally, there's a 2.5 month supply of inventory. In our backyard, it's much lower than that. It's more like a 1.2 month supply. So it's a wonderful time for sellers to sell. And the market's quick. Sellers, if they've priced it right, which we're going to talk about in a minute, they should have a contract within 30 days or less. Properties fly off the market when priced right. Okay. The bright spot, though, for buyers is that more homes are likely to become available in the last 6 months of 2021. That should give folks more options to choose from and take away some of their sense of urgency. With a larger selection, buyers may not be forced to make a decision in mere hours and will have more time to make up their minds. Well, that's nice they predict that. We'll see if it happens. We'll see if it happens. Right now, we're in the market that we're in, and we have to learn to be strategic and provide the best quality service that we can. So in this type of a market, how do you prepare a buyer to compete?
Gary, I want to
Only
ask
have
a
one
question.
shot.
They only have one shot. Yeah,
Give us your best offer right from the get-go.
that's right. Right. But how do you prep them, Mike? I mean, how do you prepare them to have a good experience? I mean, it's definitely worthwhile to do what we teach, right? To sit down and have a consultation and kind of prepare them for what is to come, and let the data be your guide and show them what's happening, right?
I show them the sheets that you're going to show us in just a few minutes with your handwritten notes, and show them that if they think they're going to go in with a 92% offer or 93% offer, we're going to be spending a lot of time writing paper, but not getting them the house they want.
There you go. So, I mean, you also have to teach them about urgency in this market, right? They have to be prepared to, if a house comes on the market, they can't wait. Right. They can't wait till next Friday to look at it. It's already gone, right?
Yes.
If they have an advisor that they're going to need to see the house, it's best to do it all at the same time. You want in the consult, you want to prepare them for competition and ask them questions like, let me ask you, when you compete, do you want to win, or do you just like to compete?
Gary, I believe this is something I learned from you, and that is prepare them. Are you okay if the first house we see is your house? Let's go back and write an offer.
Right. Yes. The other thing, I mean, depending on their price point, I mean, how do they compete with cash buyers? If they need a mortgage, how do they compete with cash buyers?
Bid higher and fully pre-approved and maybe have more money down.
Well, they want to make their offer as strong as possible, but
Stronger,
I recommend highly using the Van Dyke's TBD program, to be determined.
Oh, yes.
In other words, the buyer's already gone through the approval process completely. Verifications are done, and Brian could probably speak to that better than I. But the only thing that needs to be done is the seller's house has to pass appraisal and inspection, because the buyer is already pre-approved, gone through underwriting and everything. Is that correct, Brian?
100% correct. We do all the heavy lifting up front. We even order tax transcripts and all those background checks and all that extra stuff that you do during underwriting, so that when they check the box, it's ready to go.
Yeah, that's a powerful position to be in. That's the only way if somebody getting financing can legitimately compete with a cash offer. Okay, and it's something that you can't just tell another agent that the buyers are pre-approved, because this is much further advanced than pre-approved. And most agents have heard the term pre-approved and don't believe it anyway.
and it requires a phone call from one of us to the listing side to let them explain what TBD means.
Right.
You guys explain it, but when they hear it from us for whatever reason, just like when someone tells my kid something and the same thing I say, it just has different weight.
Exactly. So I invite you to make sure all your buyers, no matter what price range, I mean, going through the numbers today, I mean, even the higher end is less than a 3-month supply of inventory right now. So buyers, the TBD program is valid in all price ranges.
Hey, Gary,
100%.
Yes.
an $835,000 property went under contract in 10 days.
There you go. That's happening more now than it ever has before. That's why agents are doing crazy things. I mean, you know, the higher end, everything is selling up, you know, like crazy. And it's a wonderful blessing. It's make hay while the sun shines. You know, I mean, you get even listings in the higher end are not sitting around if they're priced reasonably well, you know, and that's a great position to be in. That's exciting. And I want to congratulate the Boring team. I mean, they did some amazing things last month. I think they did over 11 million in volume in 1 month in December and had 32 closings. I mean, they had a great year last month. That's pretty powerful. But yes, you can take advantage of the TBD program. Make sure that you're preparing your buyers to win. You don't want to waste time writing offers and losing, writing offers and losing, writing offers and losing. I'd be doing everything under my power to create an experience for a buyer that's so powerful that when you do the consultation, they can't help but get excited about signing a buyer broker agreement with you because you're willing to do things that no one else is. Like search actives and withdrawns and expireds and pendings for them. Like having a FSBO inventory log, like write down, or you know, knowing the new home construction available, you know, letting them know what you're going to do to minimize the chance that they're going to have to write offers and lose. But still in competition, prepare them to be the most competitive that they can be. Prepare them to write a letter or a note to the seller about how much they love the house and how much they want to raise their kids there, or whatever you can do to appeal. But that's what it's going to take to help a buyer win in this marketplace. And that's the sense of urgency that you have to go above and beyond for your buyers and sellers, you know. And also, you know, whatever you're doing for buyers is going to generate listing opportunities too. All right. Okay. Any other questions, ahas, thoughts?
Gary, this is Mike again. I would say part of going above and beyond too, think about how you're presenting that offer to the listing agent. Is everything presented to them in a logical, organized fashion? Have you given them contact information for the lender? Brian said that they're willing to call the listing agent and follow up on their pre-approval or their TBD. You know, so how you present the offer is the last but most important step to potentially getting that. Because if a listing agent sees that you're well organized in the offer process, are you somebody that they're going to want to work with? And if they have any say or recommendation to their sellers who they want to work with, how you present that could make the difference between your buyer getting that or not getting it.
That's an excellent point, Mike. Right on the money. Because as a listing agent, you're not going to want to take your house off the market for, you know, for any length of time for an agent that seems scattered and doesn't have their stuff together and that didn't know whether their buyer's approved or not, or what it means, that kind of thing. So yes. And the more professional you present yourself, the better opportunities you're going to have to win the offers that are being presented. Thanks, Mike. Anybody else? Good use of your time so far? Okay.
Absolutely.
Always.
All right, next. Thanks, Tamara. You're the best. I appreciate you. Why it's important to price your house right today. Okay, we're in a seller's market. Values are rising. Why shouldn't I price it higher than I would normally price it? Why shouldn't I leave more room for negotiation? Maybe the market will catch up to me. And when you're reading this stuff, okay, we expect price gains to ease somewhat in 2021, but end 5.7% above 2020 levels. So sellers that are reading about how fast properties are selling and they don't think fast selling is to their benefit. Okay. But look at this next paragraph. It's perfect because it's what I say all the time. When it comes to setting the right price for your house, what's the goal? The goal is to increase visibility, drive more buyers your way. The more buyers that see your house, the better chance you have to create demand and an auction-like atmosphere. Does that make sense? That's the key ingredient of pricing. That's the most important thing you can do. When you have the right price for a house, when an agent shows it and a buyer looks at it and they can't leave the house without making an offer. So that's the criteria I would ask my sellers, if they want to set a price. Let me ask you a question. At 350, if you walked into this house, would you be able to leave it without writing an offer? So as a seller in today's market, you might be thinking about pricing your house on the high end while so many other buyers are searching harder than ever just to find a home. But here's the thing, a high price tag doesn't mean you're going to cash in big on the sale. It actually is more likely to deter buyers. Okay, while I'm saying this, at the same time, when we are in a market like this, we don't want to lose a listing over a seller that's etched in stone about not pricing it right on the money. Okay? But we want to educate them and tell them the truth and tell them and let them be aware of things like this, right? And show them a graph like this on the next page. The opportunity for pricing properly is right where they overlap, where the under and overlap, right at market value, right on the market. If it's underpriced, it loses value, it decreases future buying power, it deters potential buyers because they think something is wrong. Why is it priced so low? If it's overpriced, it sits on the market longer, the price drops, can send the wrong message to buyers and deters potential buyers because it's priced too high. So it's important to price it right from the beginning. What's the benefit of pricing it right from the beginning? And how do they get that right price? With a trusted real estate professional to guide them throughout the process. But the right price right from the beginning is going to generate excitement when their negotiating position is the strongest. What happens now in a market where you're looking to search to find buyers' homes and you do a search in the MLS and you see that a house is on the market longer than 30 days? What's your first thought? It's overpriced. The key is to make sure your house is priced to sell immediately. This way it'll be seen by the greatest number of buyers. We want to, my input has always been to price it in the 1 month supply of inventory. Price it in the 1 month supply. In other words, if you're doing a supply and demand analysis and there's 10 homes selling in a price point, if they're one of those, if they're just as good as one of those top 10 homes, then they should be priced there. If they're not as strong as one of those top 10 homes, then they shouldn't be priced there. Any thoughts or questions or input? Pricing is more forgiving now that the market is so strong for sellers. But if you have anything that's on the market longer than 30 to 60 days, price is probably the issue, right? I would probably say most definitely, probably definitely the issue, okay? As the market shifts to a more balanced market, pricing becomes even more key. And it's important to price your properties. The best results are when they're priced on the market, because the longer a house is on the market, the further away from its original list price it sells, and the worse the experience it is for the seller. And the less trust they have for you and in your competence. It's funny how it works that way, no matter how great your service is, okay? When you get it under contract within a reasonable period of time that meets their goals and their expectations, then you're a hero. And that's a fun situation to be in. Okay, any thoughts, ahas, questions? Okay, next page. Why selling your house on your own is a mistake. in 2021. That's always a mistake. But safety is an issue right now, okay? And that's one of the main points, especially, you can't control entry into the home while you guys have proper protocols in place to protect not only their belongings, but their health and well-being. Powerful online strategy. They have to negotiate with too many people. They won't know if a buyer's qualified for purchase. Meanwhile, you guys have relationships with lenders. FISBOing is more difficult from a legal standpoint. It's interesting, you listen to NAR stats, and it used to be at 19% of homes sold by FISBO. Now it's only about 8%. And the big reason is you net more money by using an agent, plain and simple. And that simply makes sense. Because what kind of buyers look at FISBOs? People that usually trying to save the commission, right? Which is exactly what the seller's trying to do, right? So who wins? But you can read this over. Next page is an article on forbearance. About 3 million households are actively in forbearance. Almost 30% have continued to stay current on their payments. 39.1% are now 150 days behind, while as many as 1 in 4 are 180 days past due. Okay. Question is how many of them will catch up, when it ends. So what are the experts saying? All right. Scroll down a little further, Tamara. In a nutshell, what they're all saying for the most part is there's so much equity in most people's homes right now that most of them that are faced with this situation will have the opportunity to sell it. And this might be a source of inventory for us to help them get it sold before they are faced with any type of foreclosure. But it's not going to be at the levels that it was way back when the market was completely different. So here it is in the middle of the page. It says, with today's positive equity situation, many homeowners will be able to use a loan modification or refinance to stay in their homes. If not, some will go to foreclosure, but most will be able to sell and walk away with their equity. So they don't think that it's going to cause a stir of any kind that's going to be significant. Okay.
So, Gary?
Yes, sir.
So there's about just under 2.9 million people still in forbearance.
Right.
Today, and 77% of the people still in forbearance have at least 20% or more equity in their home.
That's a great number to know. Appreciate that, Brian.
Yeah, and we're doing a class on this Wednesday here in the Market Center on Zoom in Palm Harbor at 12 o'clock on just this piece. Well, among other pieces, we're going to talk about forbearance and how what's left, and of that, only 1% of that has negative equity. So if you remember back in 2008, the average loan to value was about 94%. So nobody could really sell. The average now is about 70%.
There you go.
Loan to value. So you got plenty of room to sell.
There we go. That's great. Thanks. Great information. And sign up for that class. You'll get great information. Thanks for doing that, Brian. Appreciate you guys and all your input and all your education on helping our people.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot. Okay, next page. Have you guys all seen Gary Keller's message for 2021? Have you heard it yet? Well, here it is in writing. The 3 L's are still the 3 keys to success in our industry. He's talking about the MREA book, right? Leads, listings, leverage. Okay? So if you haven't read the MREA book, read it and read it again. And read it again. It still applies. 2, our database is still our business. Our database is not a mailing list. Our database is a relationship list. And for success in health and real estate, we want to be constantly nurturing it and constantly adding to it. So we're not in only the card giving business. We're in the card collecting business. Okay. We don't simply ask for a referral, ask them to tell people about us. We ask them to call us when they know of someone that's thinking about buying or selling, so that we can be proactive and call them and make sure they have a great experience. 30-30-40 is still the fundamental MREA model. Does everybody know what that means? You know what 30-30-40 means? Anybody not know what that means? It's 30% cost of sales, 30% expenses. Your net by the MREA model is 40%. Okay. And there's classes on all of these. For the path to the 7 levels shouldn't be cheated. Success, not ambition, should drive you through the levels. So don't try to jump levels if you're not ready to jump levels yet. Reach a level of success at each area. Like some people try to, the first thing that's cheated is people hire buyer specialists before they have someone administratively. The first hire is an executive assistant, not a buyer specialist. If you're thinking about leverage. That's usually the most common mistake. 5, time blocking for lead generation is still the one thing that drives success in any business. We talked about managing time.
2 points about yesterday's 0 to 10 million.
I'm sorry? Yeah, managing time is important. Time blocking for lead generation is still the most important thing you can do with your time. When you don't have an appointment or a closing, right? People are great at putting activity appointments, people appointments in their calendar, right? If you have an appointment with the buyer, appointment with the seller, appointment, for a closing, that's in the calendar. But a lot of times we're not very good at putting activity appointments in the calendar. If it doesn't get to the calendar, it doesn't get done. So lead generation needs to be in your calendar for the time you expect to do it on a daily basis. And you need to treat it like you're on $1 million listing appointment. Whatever source of lead generation you're using. 6, shifts happen in cycles. Count on it. Always run your business with this in mind. One cycle causes the next. So up causes down and down causes up. That's why you live in the current cycle while prepping for the next. And then 7, financial freedom starts with knowing your freedom number. Then focusing your earnings, savings, and investing toward getting that number. And number 8, grit's still the number 1 determiner of success. The commitment to never settle, never give up, never settle, never give up is what fuels success more than anything else. You got to have a passionate desire to build what you want to build. Otherwise, you're not going to have staying power. You won't be able to get up fast enough from the challenges that knock you down. It's a test of your faith every day. So how strong is your faith? Is it stronger than your fear? You can do this. The only thing stopping you from doing it is what's in here. And it's inch by inch is a cinch. And move in the direction of accomplishing your goals. And you can achieve whatever you desire to. Does that make sense? Okay, questions, thoughts? Ready to get to some data?
Yes.
Let's get to some data. Thank you, Michael. REO and short sale inventory is almost non-existent. Okay, there's not a lot of distressed properties on the market. In Pinellas County last month, there are 17 currently REOs on the market in Pinellas County. 8 sold in December. They sold at 101% of list price. The absorption rate was 47.1% or a 2.1 month supply. And again, for anybody new on the call, a 0 to 6 months, a 5 month supply is a seller's market. A 5 to 7 month supply is a balanced or normal market. And a 7 or greater month supply is a buyer's market. The closer to 0 the number, the more intense the seller's market is. And the higher the number is on the other end, the more intense of the buyer market is. And houses sell in both markets, right? We just have to be prepared strategically for different things. You know what working in a seller's market is, but if a buyer's market, if we move to a buyer's market, what are the things that happen? Inventory accumulates, houses stay on the market longer. Now sellers are competing for buyers. Buyers have more options. Okay, so there's different things that you need to be preparing your buyers and sellers for. You know, your service for sellers, you have to have a system to service them, especially if you're going to accumulate listings. You can't be reactive, you have to be proactive. Okay. Pricing is extremely critical in a buyer's market. It's always important, but it's extremely critical in a buyer's market where there's a lot of competition out in the marketplace. But we don't have to worry about that yet. We're not there. Okay. Next, short sales. Only 2 for sale right now in Pinellas County. 6 of them sold last month. It only took 65 days to go from contract to closing. That's a very low number. Of course, there were only 6 of them. So there was more solds than actives. That's a 300% absorption rate, or a third of a month's supply of inventory. Okay. Intensely strong sellers market. And now the non-distressed arena, which is what we're most interested in. You can see 2,523 active non-distressed listings in Pinellas County. In November, there were 2,946. So just month over month, we dropped 423 active listings in Pinellas County. That's a drop of 14.3% from November to December. December last year, there were 4,373 listings. That's an 1,850 listing drop year over year, or a 42.3% drop in active inventory year over year in Pinellas County. Now, by the same token, the number of sales went up from December of last year by 216, from 1,915 sales up to 2,131. That's an 11.3% increase in the number of sales with 1,850 less listings. That, my friends, is the definition of a market getting stronger for sellers. And if you see at the bottom, you'll see the percentages. Look at the absorption rate in December of last year. It was 43.8%, went up to 84.5%. The absorption rate is the percentage of inventory that got sold in a given period of time, in a given month. The month supply dropped from a 2.3 month supply in December last year to a 1.2 month supply December this year. Intensely strong sellers market. Those properties sold at an average of 98% of list price. Any thoughts or questions? Okay, next page. I've just started doing this to see, because I want to see how many pendings there are. Now this includes all inventory, including auctions. 2,544 active listings. There were 2,967 last month. 2,525 pending. 2,647 last month. So there's a drop in both, but the pending number is almost caught up to the active listing number. And that number of pendings means that January is probably going to be a good month too. And solds went up from November to December, from 1911 up to 2151. Okay, Pasco County. Again, only 15 active listings, REOs right now. Last month, 16 sold, and they sold at 98% of the list price. There were more sold than actives, so the absorption rate is over 100%, 106.7%, which is a 0.9 month, under a 1 month supply of inventory for REOs right now. Short sales in Pasco. 5 actives, 5 sold. Took 142 days from contract to closing. Okay, and that means those buyers that were under contract waited about 3 to 4 months, 4 months, closer to 4 months for a decision from the bank on what price would be acceptable, because the bank controls the selling price in a short sale situation because the mortgage is worth more than the house. The absorption rate is 100%, or a 1 month supply of inventory for short sales in Pasco. Non-distressed in Pasco, which again is the numbers that we're mostly spending our time in. 1,136 listings, actives. month in November, there was 1286. So there's a drop of 150 listings or 11.7%. But look at year over year. There were over 2,500 listings last year. Now there's just a little over 1,100. That's almost 1,400 less listings this year in Pasco than last. That's a 55.2% drop in active inventory in Pasco County. Meanwhile, sales went up from 1108 to 1312, or 204 sales. That's an 18.4% increase in number of sales in a month where there was 55.2% less active inventory. Again, the definition of a market getting stronger for sellers. 43.7% absorption rate last December, 110.6% absorption rate because there was more sold than actives currently. So we went from a 2.3 month supply last December to less than a 1 month supply right now in Pasco County. So that virtually means that, you know, pretty much anything you get listed, if it's reasonably priced, it's gone. It's not always going to be this way, folks. I know this market comes with frustrations, but one of the things you get with a buyer's market or a balanced market is carrying listings and babysitting sellers and dealing with lister abuse. Sellers calling you, why didn't it sell this week? Why didn't it sell this week? Why didn't it sell this week? Thank God you don't have that right now. Okay, next page, Tim. Okay, inventory drop cumulative. This is auction, bank owned, short sale, non-distressed, from 1305 to 1156. Pendings dropped also, but look at how many more pendings there are in Pasco than there are actives. 1,750, 600 more pendings than there are actives in Pasco County. And sales went up by almost 100 in Pasco. Okay, Hillsborough for you Tampa agents. $31 active REOs, 16 sold. They sold at 100% of list price. 51.6% absorption rate, a 1.9 month supply of inventory. Strong sellers market. Short sales, 19 active, 9 sold, 149 days from contract to closing, a 2.1 month supply of inventory. And then in Hillsborough, 2,176 active non-distressed listings. It dropped by 14.5% or 368 listings month over month. Year over year, it dropped by 2,459 listings or 53.1%. So it dropped 53%. Number of sales went up 17%, or 376 sales. It was the largest number of sales in December in all 3 counties. And it's the lowest amount of active inventory in all 3 counties. So ever. The non-distressed in Hillsborough sold at 99% of list price in December. And you can tell when you look at numbers like that, look at how much the absorption rate went up. So in in Pasco and in Hillsborough, according to my research, more properties sold than are active. Now, granted, the properties that are sold in December. The properties that are active, I pulled this number like December 12th. So it wasn't the active inventory as of December 31st. I pulled it on January 12th. So, but still, you know, there's more sales than active listings for the month of December. That's 119% absorption rate instead of a 47% absorption rate. The month supply dropped from 2.1 to a less than a month supply, or 0.8 of a month supply of inventory. Thoughts? Ahas.
So Gary, this is what I was saying, that when I do my buyer consults, I print these just as you present them. with the handwriting and all, because this helps them understand if they think, well, in my area, I can get a deal or a bargain. No, we need to go in with the strongest offer possible. And I will tell you that from a credibility standpoint, clients respond really well when they see things with handwritten notes. It's not just stock stuff that you're showing. They don't know that Gary's handwritings is way better than mine, but so put these in your listing presentations, put these in your buyer consults, because they make a huge difference.
Yeah, well, data can help create validity, number one, because they might not necessarily believe you're doing something for them when you're telling them the truth. They may think you're talking to them with commission breath and trying to, get them to do something that's in your best interest, not necessarily theirs. Like not waiting to write an offer, write it now. But if you show them data and show them what's going on in this marketplace, there's no disputing it, right? I mean, it's just fact is fact. Okay. Next page is, again, the same numbers. And look at the number of pendings again. Look how much the pendings outnumber the actives. We can't put them on the market fast enough for them to go under contract. So imagine if we did have the same amount of inventory that we had last year, our sales would have gone up by another 1,200 or 1,300 listings. Okay. So again, it's just an amazing time. A little frustrating for buyers to find inventory, but if you're doing what we preached, if you're using the buyers that you have and their needs to attract sellers and proactively hunt sellers for them, you might minimize their opportunity to compete by finding an old expired or a FSBO that they can buy without worrying about any other offers coming in to beat you out. Or if it doesn't work that way, you might get other listing opportunities. And that's a tremendous thing to do right now. The other thing is do open houses every day. Find houses to sit open, bring your call list with you, make calls from there, and meet people face to face that are coming in interested in houses. I mean, one of our gals on our team told us that they did an open house or was interviewing to be on our team. She did an open house last week and had 15 people come through the house. People are out there looking. They're not a waste of time. And you're using the phone to get face to face. And why not use open houses to get face to face and make calls there if there's not a lot of people coming in? Again, strategies, ideas. And the other thing is, a lot of people that don't like open houses don't realize is that sellers look at open houses before they put their houses on the market. So there's a lot of seller leads walking through those open houses. All right, any questions, ahas, thoughts? Okay, let's go to the board stats. Again, 2985 is the lowest number on the page. And this includes all inventory, distressed and non-distressed. So the overall drop was 36.6%, the drop in Pinellas. Number of sales, again, the most number of sales in December that we've ever had. We've never been over 2,000, let alone over 2,100. 8.9% jump. The next page is a list of all the price classes and the actual inventory in each price class. In the bottom half of the page is the number of sales in those same price classes. So if you have the number of active listings by price class and the number of sales by price class, you can figure out the absorption rates in the month supply of inventory of any price point in Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough County. And it might be a good idea to do that just to see, and just by doing numbers, you'll learn. Sometimes they tell a story, sometimes they don't. Okay, but usually there's a story. Next page. This is a graphically looking at number of listings versus number of sales. month supply of inventory. You see, when the mouth is open wider, it's a more of a buyer's market. When the market gets tighter, for you know, there's the listing. Look at how listings have decreased while sales have gone up. Next page, Pasco County. Again, 1361 is the lowest number on the page. 51.2% less overall inventory. And 1260 is the highest December that they've ever had in Pasco. A 14.1% increase. Overall, it's just a little bit above a 1 month supply. 1.1 month supply. Virtually all listings are selling, right? Now, the next page, this is Pasco County. We see the number of sales and number of listings and the number of sales by price point. And again, you can figure out the month supply and absorption rate in each price class. Maybe we'll do that for. Wow, a few years ago, well, several years ago. Look at the very bottom of the page. It's interesting in Pasco, over 1 million is pretty much non-existent. Only 8 properties sold the whole year. Over 1 million. Only 13 sold between 900 and 9 and a million. Only 25 sold between 800 and 900. If any of you sold any of those properties in the price range there, you're in short supply. You should be marketing the heck out of that. Next page. And here we see graphically, again, the mouth's almost closed there. That's what a 1 month supply looks like graphically. Okay, Hillsborough. Again, I circled that number because it's the lowest number on the page. The highest number I see is June of 2016. But again, these numbers are nothing. I mean, some of these numbers I've seen active inventory 17,000, 18,000. To have an inventory of 2,600 is amazing. The drop of 48.7% overall. And again, the highest number of sales ever in December, 2,505, an 11.7% increase. Absorption rate just a little over 1. Okay, let's look at the next page. Let's figure out a month supply of inventory and absorption rate. Let's look how many properties are active between 900 and 1 million. Wait a second, no, between 800 and 900. $60, right?
60, yeah.
How many are sold? How many sold between 800 and 900?
25.
Right. What's 25 divided by 60?
Yeah. Oh, shit.
41.7.
Right. What's 100 divided by 41.7?
Basically 2.4.
2.4. Just that alone. Have you ever seen a 2.4 month supply of inventory that high of a price point?
Mm-mm.
That's insane.
So there's nothing wrong with going for inventory in that price point if you're popping within 3 months. You can get pretty rich. Now let's look between 7 and 8. How many properties sold?
33.
33 divided into 56, right?
1.7, wait, no, wait, 30, 56.
33 divided by 56.
56 is 0.59.
Right, 58.9%. What's 100 divided by 58.9?
1.7 months supply.
Right. Okay, so you're going on a listing appointment and they can list anywhere between 775 and 8.25. Above 800 is a 2.4 month supply. Below 800 is a 1.7 month supply. What's a stronger market for that seller?
Price it under 800 in the high sevens.
There you go. Or even right at 800
Mhm.
is fine. And because also it's a critical cutoff point. Every $100,000 price increment is a critical cutoff point. You know, if it's 805, which is a ridiculous price, why is it a ridiculous price to list something at 805 or 809? Because everybody looking up to 800 online or in the MLS, it's invisible to. They just didn't price it, you know, strategically very smart. If you price it right at 800, you get the buyers and agents looking up to that point. Okay, if it's above $1 or above, any buyer or agent looking up to 800 doesn't see it. It's invisible. Does that make sense? So be aware of those price positioning strategies. Every 100 is critical. Every 50 is next. Every 25 after that. And if you're going to adjust the price, make sure that you do your best to try to adjust the price to change who they're competing against. So say it was listed at 825, bringing it down to 815 really isn't going to make that much of a difference most of the time. They would probably need to bring it down to 800 to change who they're competing against. Does that make sense? We got that? Okay, give me a couple of thoughts and ahas, and we'll get you out of here on time.
I've actually got a quick question on the pricing. I mean, you hear different agents say listing it at 140 versus 139,999, and then of course just above that. But you know, there's an argument for all of it. Somebody looking for under, well, and I mean that's not a realistic actual price point to use in this market. But you get what I'm saying in general. What's kind of the argument on that? What would be the best of the three, so to speak, for search results?
Well, in the old days, before all the technology that's available now, when we worked from MLS books, you know, way back when, and there were computers, but you know, the people weren't really searching, you know, on the internet for real estate. I would price all our listings at, they would end in 877. You know, and they end at 877 because that was kind of our signature, because everybody would know it was our listing, number one. All agents would know it's our listing. And number two, it would stick out more from all the properties that were priced with 000 at the end, right? So that was the old thought. But now with technology, the even numbers are the critical cutoff points. So if you listed it at 800, everybody starting at 800 and everybody stopping at 800 gets to see the property. So I think the best strategy is to price it evenly, right at a price point. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
But it's your call. Whatever you think is going to work best for you, and your seller is what you want to do. But just don't price it above a close cutoff point. You know, like even 109, 209, 309, 409. Price it at 400, 300, 200, 100. Follow what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
Because you're missing, you could potentially be missing it. Now, if they want to start there, it's more forgiving to start there now in a seller's market than in a buyer's market. It can cost them a lot of money and time later on if it warrants it. You know, but my main point is the best price strategically is going to be pricing it on the market in a competitive price position to drive up demand and try to get multiple offers, so buyers are competing with each other instead of a seller competing with a buyer. Does that make sense?
Appreciate it.
Let the buyers compete with themselves over a property and drive the seller's price up as high as it will go. That help?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Anybody else? I got one more thing, Tamara. I forgot about that last page. Thanks, honey. 7 rules of life. I found this the other day and I thought it was appropriate. So I'm just going to share it with you to send you off. Number 1, let it go. Never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad yesterday. In fact, I'll even say never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad last call. You still got the rest of the day. Don't give anything permission to take your day down. Be clear on what you need to do to win the day, and don't let anything distract you, if humanly possible. Okay? 2, ignore them. Don't listen to other people. Live a life that's empowering you. Don't let the noise impact you. If you're so clear on where you want to be, you're going to make better decisions with your time, and you're not going to allow things to slow you down and distract you or take you away from your game. 3, give it time. Time heals everything. 4, don't compare. The only person you can try to beat is the person you were yesterday. Don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. Don't wish you were someone else. Be you. Be inspired by other people, but don't compare yourself to other people. Don't knock yourself down because you're not where you want to be. You think someone else is. Don't think anyone else is better than you. We're all created equal. God loves us all. Five, stay calm. It's okay not to have everything figured out. Know that in time you'll get there. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. You just got to believe and not get discouraged. We have no room for discouragement in pursuit of a dream. Don't give anyone or anything the permission to slow you down in pursuit of what you believe you're destined and you're meant to do. 6, it's on you. Only you are in charge of your happiness. Choose to be happy. It's a choice. If you count your blessings and you're predominantly aware of your blessings, focus on those things instead of the things that you might be beating yourself up over, or you're shooting all over yourself over. Focus on you. And you're in charge of your own destiny. 7, smile. Life is short. Enjoy it while you'll have it. Okay? Have a good time. Enjoy the journey. It can be fun. It should be fun. Any thoughts? Any ahas?
Just want to say how much I appreciate you taking the time to do this call every month, Gary. It really means a lot.
My pleasure. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Truly. I mean, those aren't. That's true. There's no doubt about it. We wish and pray for all your successes, and hope that all goes well, and that you're building a life of your dreams. Nothing can get in the way of that if you don't allow it. Just keep believing in yourself. Don't make me believe more in you than you believe in you. Okay? All right. Anybody else?
Gary.
Okay. Have a great month. Go get your unfair share and enjoy the journey. Have a great month.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for being
much.
here. Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tamara. Give Tamara a hand. I couldn't do
Thank
this
you,
without.
Tamara.
Thank you.